Alright, we're going to do a two-part video series here. The first part's going to be what you see on the screen here, me talking about a student. And the second part's going to be me demonstrating the drills that I had the student do to get him into these ideal positions. This is a student who flew over from Ireland to work with me for a couple days and is trying to turn pro. So he takes golf very seriously, just like you guys do, and had a couple really common faults that so many golfers struggle with, and led to inconsistent ball flight. He had a path that was a little bit too far from the inside, hit a very high ball flight, would have a tendency to block it high right, or hit kind of a high draw. And neither of those work at a professional level. We need a much more penetrating ball flight and get the path straightened out. So long story short, what all of this had to do with, or not all of it, but a good chunk of it had to do with the amount of lag that he was losing coming down. Now, of course, lag is this a big elusive thing to the average amateur golfer. They think that there's just no way to get it, and you either have it or you don't, or they figure that they'll never have it, and it's just nonsense. Lag is a simple byproduct of doing a few things correctly. And in the drill, in the second half of the video that I'm going to show you, you're going to see exactly how to produce it and see exactly how I got the results that you see here in less than 10 minutes. So with Greg here, this is his first swing that I filmed without me working with him at all. It's just his first swing of the day, or after he'd already warmed up. And this is me working with him for 10 minutes on lag. And you can see a pretty radical difference. And just to use a couple simple lines to start out with, we can draw a line basically from the butt of the club. I'll try to get both of those pretty accurate here in just a second. Excuse me. So with the first one, there's the butt of the club, and he chokes up on it a little bit, and there's the butt of the club. Obviously, at one point, when the shaft is parallel to the ground, now this, or maybe a half a frame off here, but this is as close as we can get. Notice that his hands, or the butt of his club, are actually in front of the ball when the shaft is parallel to the ground. And on this one, it's well behind the ball. And you can see a couple other things. The butt of the club is now in front of his head. Here it's kind of over his left eye, or underneath his left eye. And the big thing that you can see that you're going to start looking at is that you can see some of his right thigh here, which is basically part of our goal in doing the drill that I'm going to give you, was getting the hands back here in front of the right thigh when the shaft is parallel to the ground. The key is the drill that I'm going to give you. But these are the things that you want to look at. And when you start looking at angles here, you'll notice that the angle between his right forearm and club shaft is plus 90 degrees. Here it's about 90 degrees. So he's in a much better position here. He's maintained much more lag coming down. And then we're going to see a couple other things as we start working down. A couple more frames on each of them. Notice now that his hands, get two more frames here, are much more in front of the ball. He's going to have a much more descending blow. And notice that the position of his hands are much more in front of his chest. So if I clear out this line on both of these, it's pretty easy to see that his hands are right here back in the center of his chest, and here they're well back behind, so the line's going the opposite direction. That's a little bit off there, but you can get the idea. So what this is going to do is it's going to cause him to obviously release the club early and lose speed and power, so he's going to have to do something to compensate for it. And what he's doing is really working hard to turn his body and hit really hard with the body. You can see just how much his muscles in his left arm are strained here, whereas here they're basically relaxed. And that's another key piece that you'll learn as we go into the drill. Now, in learning this, he's going to obviously tend to overdo a couple things, and we're going to see that at impact where he's got his hands a little too far forward at impact. But that's a much better problem to have. Notice again, still got a lot of angle between that right arm and the shaft. Here he's losing it quite a bit. Just before impact, we've really lost a lot of angle, which we want to at some point. We need to release the club. But notice how he's going to have, at impact, a lot of forward shaft lean. And again, there's a point of having too much here. And in the same frame here on the left, the club head is actually passing his hands, whereas here he's actually driving the ball, compressing it properly, and has a lot of forward shaft lean. Now again, technically this is something we were going to work out, getting a little bit less shaft lean. He's overcooked it here just a little bit, but we're in a close position to being absolutely perfect here. It's a massive difference here between these two impact positions, these two release positions, and more importantly, the ball flight. The ball is going to come out, and you can see the ball is coming out very high here. Here the ball is going to come out very, very much more penetrating, which was the result of these shots, obviously. See here as he continues on. Go one more frame on each. Ball's coming out much higher on this side versus here where he's still got his hands ahead of the club head. Now again, obviously at some point we want that to release, but working on one thing at a time. So the big thing here was maintaining lag. Lag is the key to the golf swing. It is the key to power, and it is the key to consistency, believe it or not. A lot of people don't realize that. But as we get into this drill that I'm going to show you in the second half of the video, you're going to start to see how you can create these positions no matter what handicap golfer you are. You can see yourself in this very, very powerful position where the hands are back in front of the body. You got a ton of lag between the right forearm, the hands are in front, and see yourself start hitting penetrating golf shots like you've never seen. And I'm going to show you that in this next half of the video.
So by now, we've watched the first half of the video showing a student who made a tremendous improvement in the amount of lag that they had in the downswing, and I promised you I'm going to give you a drill to show you how to do the exact same thing. But first, before we do that, I want to talk about what lag is so that everybody's on the same page and they understand what we're defining as lag, and how the second thing I'm going to show you is how you get rid of lag in the incorrect way. And then the third thing is finally the drill to show you how to create it. So, first things first, the most important thing to understand is let's all be on the same page for what lag is, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what lag is in the golf swing. Most people, including teachers, will define lag as the angle between the left forearm and the club shaft during the downswing. So right now I have basically a 90-degree angle, and that would be considered depending on the point it is at the downswing, that I would have a lot of lag. The problem is the left arm has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter what the angle between the left forearm and the shaft is, because that needs to get released during the downswing, because that's part of what squares a club face. So what we actually need to look at is the angle of the right forearm and the club shaft. That's what lag really is. It's this angle that determines what kind of power you're going to have in the swing versus how much effort you're going to put into it. So that's that whole powerful effort or effortless power, depending on which one you're putting into your swing. We want that effortless power feeling, and the vast majority of that comes from conserving this angle, this lag, into the downswing so that we have a good angle. So what would be a good angle? Well, a simple check that I always use for most of my students is that when the hands start to get back in front of the thigh or about in front of the pocket, I want to see that club shaft parallel to the ground. So in other words, you can see here that my club shaft is parallel to the ground, my hands are back in front of my thigh, and I can see just the bare slight edge of my right thigh on the outside of my arm. The opposite of that would look like this. Now I've lost all my lag. This is where most amateurs are. Or you could be really extreme and be up in this angle. We don't need that much. That's going to alter how strong of a grip we need. So club's parallel to the ground, hands are back in front of the thigh. You can just barely see the outside of your thigh. So in a downswing motion, it would look about like this. Anything more than this, and then you're going to start running into issues where the club face is going to come in open, or you're going to have your hands too far forward at impact, you're going to de-loft the club face too much, so on and so forth. There's a lot of issues with it. This is a great place to be, and if you got here, for 99% of you amateurs out there, it would completely transform your game. So we know what it is, we know what it needs to look like. Now we need to know first, what do most people do wrong to get rid of it? That's the key. The first thing that most people do is they go to the top of the swing and they unwind their shoulders as fast as they can. That's the worst thing that you can do for conserving lag, and here's the reason why.